all the attendees who apparently were inclined to decode some hex to figure out whether or not this is the room for you. I think maybe next year I'll just go ahead and put the title of my talk in ASCII and more people will show up. All right, so if you didn't decode it, I'll decode it for you. It's not terribly tricksy. Here's why. Sure enough, shameless plug. There will be one more of those. So a quick who am I? I decided the simplest way to say who am I is with the built-in command, who am I, right? So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about who I am. You guys all got the Googles, you can figure it out. But if I say who am I groups, we can see some abbreviated output from this command. I am, of course, a member of the mandatory enabled everyone group, as we all are, right? Also a member of JHAM Corp group, which is an optional group, but enabled by default. I'm a member of the SANS Institute group as a certified instructor, also optional, disabled by default. And finally, I'm a member of the author group for network forensics. It's also an optional group. J-Strand has read. I'm not sure what other members of this group there are, but actually that's optional group for read. Then finally, what privileges do I have? Who am I / priv? Let's see. The SE debug privilege, you guys should all know this one, right? I renamed the description. That's the understand what relic did just now group, and for me, that is disabled. That is disabled. Also, the SE stunt hacking privilege, which I invented to impress all of you with my wicked stunt hacking skills, that for me is also disabled. I also do not have the rocket surgery privilege for performing impossible feats, but I do have the C packets privilege, I do have the C bad guys privilege, and I do have the blue team privilege. So these are the privileges I have. Thank you. Are we not all stunt hackers here this week? Good, good, good. Now, as long as we're talking about the who am I / priv, who am I? That command is only run by a couple of different kinds of people. Sysadmins who are lost in shell amongst shell amongst shell. And who else says, who am I? Who else? Apparently, whoever hacked Equifax, because reports have it that the 30 web shells that they popped, 30 web shells, that's a way to do persistence, isn't it? Lose a shell, pop a new one. But of these 30 web shells that got popped, all of them, the very first command executed was, who am I? Because you pop a shell and you got to figure out what priv do I have. So who am I / priv? What I just used to show you my privileges is what they use to figure out their own. And there's a reason why the title says pipe output to call Congress, because if Equifax had merely had the auditing of the who am I command turned on to see event 4688 in the Windows event logs, centralized, aggregated, correlated, and detected, they would have seen every single one of those web shells immediately. This is not rocket surgery. Turn this on. Turn this on. This is just a little spoiler about what this talk is about. Look. All this stunt hacking, man, you guys on the red team sitting last night listening to Osmosis tell me about this fantastic new thing he'd done with 6 different pivots inside one box just to do a thing. And I said, guys, you're trying too hard. It's not that hard. It doesn't have to be that hard. Because on blue team, this, turn on Windows security auditing for event 4688, and Equifax wouldn't maybe had to have been sitting in front of Congress. So what's all this then? Well, this started when Strand told me he was putting on a con, and I said, yay, how can I help? And he says, you're a speaker. Well, that's not that. I was thinking, you got water to carry. I mean, what has to happen? Well, all right. So I decided, fine, give me all your bad packets. Don't tell me what's in them. Just give me a bunch of bad packets. Do your worst. And John Strand says, sure, Black Hills makes the worst packets. They're the very worst, I can tell you. And so that's what I decided I was going to start with. So the staff says, well, what do you want? You want a full campaign? You want me to record an entire hack end to end? And I said, no, just do some stuff. Just do some stuff, but tap the line, sniff the switch, just give me the packet data, and I'll tell you what you did. They said, okay, here, and I got literally a random box of chocolates. About the only thing I knew in advance about what was in these packet caps was the name of the Pcap. Like, for instance, I chose 2 of the ones that I'd been given. I got a set of 7. I chose initial, which, based on the timestamps, was the first one. And then I chose another one because it was named BetterCap, and I thought that might be fun. So that's it. So what are we going to see? Analysis, all quick and dirty stuff. I did not dive deep. I did not use Splunk. I did not use Sims. I did not use all the fancy tools with all the blinking lights. I didn't use any of that. No inspection beyond what was easily instrumented by, like, say, capturing some packets and running some tools that monitor the packets. So at layer 2 and 3, we got ARP Watch and some NetFlow data, and that's it. At layer 4, yeah, I brought in some Snort and Bro, so a little bit of content, but only the content that Bro by default. These are default configs for both Snort and Bro. Only what they would normally catch. Command line inspection on whatever was captured. No fun GUI tools at all, meaning nothing that can't be scripted for immediate real-time alerting through, if nothing else, syslog aggregation. But no full content inspection. I resisted the urge to pull stuff into Wireshark. I resisted that urge, but I didn't do it. No session reconstruction at all other than what Bro does. So here's my 2 Pcaps. My general methodology. Start out with some initial reconnaissance. That's not just for red team. Blue team, initial reconnaissance too. I want to know when stuff starts, when it ends. I want to know what kinds of things are involved, what protocols are involved, any immediate obvious anomalies that I can see in the traffic that was observed. And who's who? Who's in this recording of network activity, right? So then, any anomalous behavior I would look at and drill down to see who's the evil. Who are they being evil to? And did they propagate? But most important, how did the evil get there in the first place? If I see an evil host, how did it become evil? I need to know that as an investigator, right? And all of this around timeline analysis, putting all the events that I observe into an understandable sequence of events of the events of interest, right? All right, so here's my recon on initial Pcap, okay? So tricksy, I ran cap infos on it to see when it started and when it stopped. That's the bounds for my timeline. I know the boundaries for when stuff happens, right? I know the boundaries for when it happens, and then I ran Bro on it and just did a word count on the con log to see how many conversations does this Pcap contain. So we can see about 32,000 conversations in this Pcap. All right, what ports are being used on this network? I guess I should have given a little bit of background about the network and the activities. All the stuff that I'm analyzing was done by Black Hills testers in Black Hills testing lab, right? So it's a full Windows environment, domain controllers, the whole bit, with normal stuff going on, and as we'll see, some abnormal stuff going on, because hey, that's where Black Hills testers live. That's who brought me this stuff. So I cat out the con log, send it through BroCut, looking just for the responding port, sorting them by unique count, and what's the number? First one on the hit. Out of 32 conversations, more than 13,000 of them are to port 5,000. What's port 5,000? Anyone know off the top of your head? What's port 5,000? Nobody? You don't know what service is assigned to port 5,000? Evil. Evil is going to be what's on port 5,000 every time. It's going to be evil. I ran one command and found evil. Right? So then I'm like, well, okay, who's listening on evil? So another BroCut of the con log, looking now at the responding host along with the responding port, grepping out my port, sorting, there's one. This one guy, that's it. Just one guy listening on port 5,000 accounts for almost half of the conversations. Have I found anomalous? I found evil in 3 easy steps. There we have, right? Now, if there's somebody listening on port 5,000, then there's somebody trying to talk to that guy on 5,000. That's probably evil too, right? Because how else is somebody going to be thinking to be connecting to port 5,000? So another bit of bro-cut magic, not magic, more. Looking now at, I got a timestamp, I got the source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port. We knew what that was going to be. That's just for my grepping. And then the number of bytes in either direction, originating and destination, and the state of the connection. And yeah, I look at a little bit more bro data, and what do I find? There always gets for /login/process.php, whereby the server always says 200 OK, and that's it. 200 OK with nothing to return. Just, OK, I heard you, and that was it. So it would seem to me, both 202 and the client, as a client and 201 as a server are evil. Man, I'm 4 slides in, and I've solved this, right? But how'd they get that way? Well, let's go back. If we look back at this here, it wasn't just port 5. I mean, there's a whole lot of evil in here. What's 8888? That's not okay, right? But 49666. I want to look at that one too. So we look at that one too. And what do I see here? Well, I see my evil 202 as the listener always, but now I see a new player connecting out 10.233.233.10. So looking at just those connections, look at the timing of them. About 2 connections every 30 minutes. They're always 2 together, always about every 30 minutes, and it continues for almost the entirety of the Pcap. It was just about a day that all this activity took place. So if I look at the timestamp, it's clear that 202 was an evil server on 49666 before 202 was involved on port 5000. And now I know for sure, well, not for sure, I'm strongly suspicious that 10.233.233.10 is also evil, because it's the thing that's beaconing out, actually connecting out to an unusual port, right? So, oh, also, a little extra fun. If we actually look at a little deeper of bro data about these connections from 10 to 202 on port 49666, here all I've done is add the connection UID, and I grab one of those and just grep for it in all the logs, and I can see that in those connections, I've got some DCE RPC stuff that gets logged, and some NTLM stuff that gets logged, and I see a login using the account SVC Nexpose IDRDC. Now I Googled SVR Nexpose IDRDC, and Google didn't tell me anything that I didn't already know, right? Now I know what these testers are using inside the test lab, but that's just a little fun aside. That doesn't really tell me too much more. But I still don't know why 202 is so evil. It's involved in all the evil stuff. How did it become evil in the first place? So I'm skipping some steps. I went back and looked at all the flow data, saying, all right, what activity was 202 involved in prior to the evil stuff? Nada. Crickets. That's unusual, because typically in a corporate network, if I see some crazy lateral connections like I'm seeing here, some evil stuff going on, if I track back in time, which is the purpose of having flow data, I go back in time and see what happened before that. What happened before that? Specifically with 202, what happened before that? What I'm going to see is somebody got phished, somebody clicked a link, somebody got a drive-by, the box got popped first. But I don't see any of that. Nothing at all before the evil, which tells me we don't have a patient 0, we have an aggressor in the chair. I've now been able to sort out enough of the sequence of events to know the difference between remote command exploitation, some remote control, and an internal bad actor, which doesn't surprise me in the Black Hills lab, that would be how that would start, right? I think it was Jordan. I don't even remember who it was. Somebody sat down in a chair and commenced a Hackin, and I can see when they did it. It woke up evil. It didn't get evil through time. It woke up that way. So what about 10? What about .10? How did it get in the mix? Well, actually, if we go back and look at the history of .10's activity, what do we see? 202 is banging on it, banging on it, banging on it, banging on it, and then what changes? What changes is, right around 13 hours, 55 minutes, and 19 seconds, some connections from 202, or a connection or two from 202 to dot 10 on port 445, simultaneously in computer time results in 10 suddenly being interested in talking to 202 as the client. That's what changed. 10 didn't wake up evil. 202 got to him, made him evil. Now, I have no full content. Do I know what it was that 202 did to 10 from this? Do I need to? At this stage of an investigation, do I care? No, that's what disk forensics is for. I teach that too. I'm pretty fond of that. I know that there's some systems I want to go find, and if I go find them and squish them, I will have won. How quickly could I have done that, Equifax? 2 months later? 6 months later? How about within the day? How about within the day? How hard would it be to script some grepping of some con logs for stuff like this? It's not rocket surgery. It's not rocket surgery. So, how about a quick glance at this? Remember, I have Snort too. I have Snort. Maybe Snort will tell me something. So, I ran Snort against the same Pcap. Look at the alerts, and this is all I got. This is all I got. All right. In this case, though, when I was looking at the open ports, I just decided on instinct to jump to the most used unusual ports. But for this, I think I'm going to go with long tail analysis. I'm going to go look at the least frequent alerts, the least frequent events. So I see a bunch of NetBIOS SMB, Unicode, username overflow attempt, right? These things. These things look like they could be interesting. They could maybe tell me something too. So if I go and look at those, what do I see? Well, I get confirmation of who my players are, right? Confirmation, corroboration through correlation. That's as useful as full content in most cases, right? At this point, do I even need to go grab the actual frame that caused these alerts, open up the Snort rule, and hold them side by side like I normally do if I'm doing false positive analysis, look at the rule that caused the alert, look at the packet that tripped the trigger, and hold them side by side and say, why did this packet cause this rule to fire? I didn't even do that in this case. I could have. What was I going to find? Was it a bad packet? What do you think? I think so. Pretty sure. So here's our quick and dirty timeline for initial Pcap so far. And it took me, what, all of, probably more time talking about it than actually putting this together. So we have our starting and ending of when the packets start and when they stop. I got that right out of Cap Infos. Then we can see just within a few seconds, whoever it was sat down at 202's console and started dinking around with a bunch of probes to 201. Then 202 finally begins hitting 10, and then 10 starts calling back, and the opponent is spread, and we get some corroboration from Snort for some stuff that goes later on. But at this point, I probably know enough to continue a full-fledged investigation. I know for sure I know enough to trigger response. Incident response, guys hear it? Yeah? Incident response is fun. Well, actually, it's not fun. But it's important. It's important, and here's how we could get there. Now, to this day, I can't even remember, like I said, who was the tester that gave me this lovin'. I have no idea what tricksy stuff they did, because that's what I told them. I said, I don't need the full campaign. I don't need the story all the way end to end. Just do the kinds of things you're going to be doing at Wild West Hackin' Fest. All the fun stunts everybody's going to be talking about. Obfuscate everything. Obfuscate your PowerShell until you can't even read it anymore. But is it still going to fling a packet? Uh-huh. Still going to fling a packet. So my next Pcap, the better cap. Little session recon with ARPWatch. You guys know ARPWatch? Anybody? A few of you shaking your heads. Yeah? Dan, you better. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, ARPWatch. It's a bajillion years old. I don't think the code's been updated in like 7 years or something like that. I just throw the Pcap through ARPWatch. actually on a whim, but I could have figured this out too, because I actually, prior to this, did just a little bit of TCP dump, one of my favorite tools, just saying TCP dump, how many packets? TCP dump, how many ARP frames? And then compare the numbers. And if 30% of your frames are ARP, something's not okay. So I throw it at ARP watch, and what do I see? So if you've never read any ARP watch output, this is just literally grepped straight out of, you can grep it straight out of syslog if you have ARP watch running all the time. It's just another libpcap tool that sniffs on an interface, sniffs on a tap, and can be monitored all the time. This flip-flop thing it's telling me, it's saying that because the IP address in this column used to have this MAC address assigned to it, and due to it watching the ARP watch, it discovered that it now thinks that MAC address because it saw some gratuitous ARP replies poisoning ARP cache. What this means now is it's entirely likely that all these guys now believe, what's the most common MAC address that's trying? Clearly, the station at that MAC address is evil, because there's no reason why any other station would be saying, hey, I'm that IP address. No, that IP address, that's me too. That one, that's me too. Send all your traffic to me, because I want to be the man in the middle, right? Which is what's about to result from this. So I know at layer 2, that's an evil station. Could I get an alert off this? Yeah, if I got something watching my syslog and it sees a bunch of flip-flop messages, could it make my pager go off? And I could put down my sandwich and go find the station with his MAC address, go, I don't know, scrape a cam table out of a switch, follow a little cable, and squish somebody with a clue stick, right? I mean, seriously. Or in a highly secure environment where clue sticks are not allowed in by the guards, clue shiv. Just carry a clue shiv, find that end user, find that bad actor, take him out. So, I mean, this is pretty clear that's going on. So, let's look at the con log now for this guy, sorting by the longest duration of connection and just grepping for my evil MAC address. First 2 hits. First hit is at layer 2 from the bad station to the broadcast, pretending to be 201 at layer 3 to layer 3 broadcast for that many seconds. Yeah, wow, that's what I said. I was like, man, whoever was running Bettercap had that in like super hyper aggressive mode. I mean, some of the switches might have got hurt from the ARP flooding, right? So then the second longest duration thing from some other station trying to connect to that guy. Oh, and look, it's 202. Our old friend 202 is trying to connect out to some external IP address at layer 3, but look where it's sending its traffic at layer 2. Apparently, it now thinks the bad guy is the router, and nothing bad can happen. So probably 201 is our aggressor. Looks a lot like 202 is the principal victim, and all its traffic is being hijacked, because at layer 2, all its traffic is going to the bad MAC address. So a little bit more inspection in the con log, and what else can we see? Well, here we see 202 trying to talk outbound to an external IP address to port 8888. Now I ask again, what service lives on port 8888? By now you know the answer. What is it? Evil. Very good. So that's for sure not okay. Oh, and by the way, same station, still 202, trying to talk to 10, trying to talk to 11, probably trying to talk to another of its friends, lots of other of its friends on port 445, but yet it all goes through evil. So no matter what good things 202 is trying to do, but if it's trying to connect out to 8888, it's not just doing only good things, but anything it's doing at this point is clearly being hijacked by our aggressor, probably at 201 and layer 3, but we know it's MAC address, which is more important for this situation. So let's check out that C2 angle. Sure enough, from this station through our man in the middle, yeah, from 202 to an external IP address to port 88888, and look at the durations. Looks like it made contact. It tried to phone home, phone home, phone home, phone home, phone home, phone home, and sooner or later it must have made contact because of the longer durations, right? Now, do I care who 96.45.33.73 is? Do I care? Well, kind of, a little bit. I mean, I want to know why it's trying to talk to them, but I know for sure that my man in the middle is seeing everything anyway, right? So even if these are legit outbound connections for C2, there's a man in the middle in the C2. Somebody's hijacking their own C2. For why? I don't know. I'm sure Wireshark could tell me a whole lot more. Probably what I'd find would be a whole lot of obfuscated PowerShell, thanks to the guys at Black Hills. If I know them at all, what I'm going to find is stuff that's obfuscated with multiple rounds of obfuscation, and I just don't feel like running base64 decode that often, right? So I'm just going to let that be. But clearly we know who the router is now. So if port 8888 is now one of my C2 indicators of compromise, I do care about what's going to happen next. All right? I do care about these connections outbound to port 8888. All right? Here's where they're being connected to. Those are my C2 endpoints on the outside. Ostensibly, those are my C2 endpoints on the outside. But with a hijack in the middle, who knows? So, hey, anything else trying to connect outbound to this? Are any of my other systems pwned like 202? That's the question I'm trying to ask here, right? Has 201 managed to hijack anybody else and get them to go out to 8888? And luckily we see little old 202 all by itself, the only one connecting out. This is a good result. The last thing you want to see is, oh, it's everybody. They're all having a party outbound port 8888, right? No, at least in this instance, we're early. We're early. We're early enough to go find 201 and 202 and squish them, because if I wait very long, what can I guarantee that list's going to look like? It's going to be a party on port 8888, isn't it? I don't want that. One web shell. Okay, one web shell, but not 30. It's unnecessary. So maybe one victim. So, what was the initial compromise of 202 in the first place? How do I track back initial compromises? Man, DNS data. DNS data is your friend. DNS data, probably the single most important source of data for network forensics in 2017 and tomorrow too, DNS data. Why? I was around in the early days, in the early 2000s, when all the rise of the botnets, when all the bots are connecting out to their C2, all of them via IRC on port 6667 like geniuses with hard-coded IP addresses. Yeah, they used to use hard-coded IP addresses for all this, but the bad guys got smart and said, ooh, if we use a hard-coded IP address, you'll block me, you'll squish me, and heck, you might even report me to the feds. So it's all via DNS. Lots of digitally generated addresses and so on and so forth, but in this case, I just say, all right, if 202 is connecting outbound, what sort of DNS questions was he asking prior, right? Because chances are, I'm going to see a DNS resolution prior to any of the evil outbound connections. So I look, and what do I see? Well, this is truncated. There was more activity than this, but the connection that immediately preceded was to msedge.net. Could that be a legitimate Microsoft server involved in all this? Well, when I drill down, here's why DNS logs are so important. Now, if you're not logging DNS off your DNS server because your DNS admin won't let you, fine, let Bro do it, right? So Bro has the same data for me, and I now see that there was a lookup for that IP address, or for that name, that resulted in that IP address in the 204.79.197.223 IP address. So let's say, hey, anybody connecting to that? And in this case, now I'm using Bro's files.log. I love Bro so much. I'm very glad that they're renaming it, because, you know, the bad connotation of Bro. I love my Bro, but no, I love the Bro network analysis framework is what I love. Because if it sees a file move, doesn't matter what protocol, doesn't matter what connection, it notices, hey, a file moved. If you want me to tell you about it, all you got to do is ask. So I asked, bro, hey, tell me about any files that involved, oh, I don't know, that bad IP address. And what do I see? Yeah, there were files moved, all right. There were sure files moved, right? How about that they were moved via HTTP? Oh, by the way, I've got MD5 and SHA-SUMs too. Bro did that automatically for me. It said, hey, a file went by. Oh, and I recorded the MD5 and SHA-SUMs for you just in case you want to know about those later on. Bro will carve the files out and save the content if you ask it. But that's a little heavy. That's a little heavy, right? Fill up your disk and such. And if I'm, as you'll see in a second, if I just want to consult virus total, all I need is the hash, right? If I want to keep a file full of known goods and known bads by hash, I can script that in Bro. I don't have to do anything. Bro will just give it to me. But in any case, I just said, hey, in my HTTP log, why don't you show me the same conversations, but this time I want a user agent and the URI. Here's my user agent. There's no Mozilla there. I don't see Mozilla in any of that. And here's my URI. Now, this could be legit Office data downloads, cab files for Office data updates. It could be all legit stuff. It could have all been legit stuff when it was requested. But is it going to be legit when it comes back? What do we think? Well, here's the deal. I do a whois, and sure enough, that's a Microsoft Corp IP address. Port 202 thought it was just, connecting out to the mothership to pull down whatever it's supposed to pull down. And also, for this Pcap, I ran it through Snort. This one, with clear ownage and clear bad files moving. Clear propagation, clear C2. Snort right out of the box with the latest Snort rule set shows me nothing. But hey, I sent those SHA-SUMs over to virus total. It showed me nothing either. Does that mean it's all okay? Nothing bad happened, right? Because Snort said nothing bad happened. Virus total said nothing bad happened. Did something bad happen? How do I know? I saw that. I saw the hijack happen with just a few command line stunts, not even stunts. And I can still see it. And that's what this whole talk was about. I can still see you. I can still see you. Do all the trixiest stuff you want. Deviant actually asked me, and when he decoded the name of the title, so is it all going to be about deobfuscation? I'm like, well, kind of not. Obfuscate away. Trixie up your PowerShell, obfuscate your payloads, use weird protocols and ports, and you will evade my detection. Nope, not even close. However, I got to admit some weakness, right? I got to admit. You got to be appropriately instrumented. How could I do all this? Well, because Black Hills was kind enough to turn on the packet sniffer before they did all their fun. Is that rocket surgery? Sniffing packets on important networks? Typically, we have very bad lack of visibility into lateral movement points because if we're going to be sniffing packets, if we're going to be watching network activity, we do it on the perimeter. Which perimeter? The perimeter. Right? The perimeter. Hey, why not on your server enclave perimeter? Why not on your desktop enclave perimeter? Why not on the switch where your important servers live? How about that? Could be. But we have a pretty bad lack of detection even of post-exploitation activity in general. But that's fixable. That's what's fixable. That's what's fixable. Exploitation is hard to see for most environments. Stage 1 flies by detection, no matter what stuff you buy. Your next generation shiny lights are not going to see it. We know this because I know Relic, I know Strand, I know these guys can bypass anything at will. I get that. That's fine. I'm not going to see the initial exploit. Virus total won't either. Stage 2, that's less excusable because now we're talking about some sort of bigger binary that's going to have some hallmarks in it. It's going to have the libraries for the C2. It's going to have the libraries for the crypto. All that stuff, and stage 2 still has to go in the clear because stage 1 doesn't have the crypto libraries in it yet, right? So the stage 2 download is going to be clear text. So it's a little less excusable that we don't see that, but we don't see it. Oh, we don't see that. That's all right. But post-exploitation, that's my bread and butter. Bring it, because I've redefined the win. You pop one of my boxes, you didn't win. You popped 2 shells. You didn't win. A little bit of lateral movement even. You didn't win. You don't win until you steal my stuff. That's when you win and I lose. Up until that point, up until when my data goes out the door, this is my house. And if I instrument it right, I have all the advantage. But I have to instrument it right. I have to be looking. I have to be at home. I have to be watching, right? And yeah, Osmosis last night was saying, yeah, I was picking on him about, yeah, but your stuff still throws packets, right? Still doing C2, right? He's like, yeah, but my Internet Explorer likes to troll, who did he even say? Twitters and Instagram and stuff. So am I going to see your C2 on port 443 to all the social media sites? Nah, Osmosis is right. That's hard. That is. It's hard. That's all right. Likewise with exfil, it could be even in the same channel. But if I can quickly identify the bad actors, I can still stop it before it's too late, before you're in the papers. So that's our place to win. So here's my summary. I don't know if you've heard this adage, in a world of blind men, the one-eyed man is king. Well, in the domain of the blind, the one-eyed man sees the new domain admin. All right, so that's my variation. One last bit of summary plus. I've been pumping these ideas now in print for over 5 years. I gave you my shameless plug for my book that I wrote back in 2012. And I put about everything I could think of in it, or everything that I got in it before I got exhausted of putting together a nearly 600-page book. But I missed some critical things that are then and since. And I'm tired of Strand pointing them out to me that, oh, why didn't you write about this? Why didn't you write about that? You need to write a new book. And I hate writing worse than anything in the universe. I hate it so bad. I was like, dude, I don't want to. He's like, but you have to. I said, I don't want to. And then we sat down, me and John and Erica and my lovely wife Paula sat down over beers and started to make a laundry list of all the stuff that should have been in the book. But 5 years ago may be excusable, except for the DNS thing. And finally, Strand twisted the screws enough such that with the support of my family and colleagues, I'm announcing here for the first time ever that Strand wins. There will be a volume 2. He has to help. He promised he has to help. But yeah, so there will be a volume 2. My publisher doesn't even know just yet. My intellectual property attorney said, yes, everything's clear, get it done. Yeah, so I'll be calling my publisher very soon. And then shortly thereafter, we'll address all the shortcomings. And that's it. Any questions? When's the book out? You know, it takes a while negotiating with publishers in the first place. I've got a rough outline, then the long tedium of writing the thing begins. But honestly, I've got so much of this stuff in my head, I think it's just a matter of barfing it out in pages that hopefully someone can edit up nice and legible. So I don't know. I hope within the year. I hope by the time I'm standing here next year, which if I get invited back, I'll say yes. Hopefully by the time I'm standing here next year, it'll at least be available for pre-order. I hope. We'll see. I also have a life. I mean, you know this. You know this, Mick. All right. And the prettiest part of it is sitting right here taking pictures of my slides for me. Thank you, baby. All right. Any other questions? Am I on time? Woohoo! All right. Well, in that case, you're all free to go. But thank you for coming.